I've got to be really honest with you about something. I have been procrastinating for months on actually sitting down and having this discussion. In the last 6 months, let's say I have gone through more character developments than I have in probably the last few years. And I've had to make a very big decision in how I wanted to show up here, how I want to show up in my business, and overall just how I want to show up in my life. My name is Dylan, and I am the creator of the Wolverine Lifestyle. This platform, when I first started, was meant to be a space to share raw, authentic vulnerability, to be a vehicle for people to be able to witness others going through the tough stuff, to be able to have the conversations on the vulnerable topics that most of us try and bury away in the closet, or the topics that we try and gaslight ourselves into basically believing that we're the only ones going through that, or the all-encompassing I. I am the only one going through this. Nobody else could ever understand what I am going through. And that's not the reality. If I have learned anything in the last 6 months, it's that we all are going through something, and somebody somewhere understands. Now, I understand that we want to believe that we are this unique individual snowflake and all of our problems are unique to us. I was one of those people, and I have learned that that is not the case whatsoever. When I say that I've been planning or I've been contemplating on taking this vehicle, this platform into a different direction, it's because I have spent the last 5 years trying to fit myself into this box that just never felt right. And I never understood why this didn't feel right, why I felt so much resistance to just showing up and having conversations and just being. When I first started this, that's what it was. I would pull out my phone, I would talk about things that I was struggling with or that I was going through, and I would have conversations about it. Somewhere along the lines, I developed this belief that I had to show up a certain way within the coaching space. And I don't know if it's just because of what I chose to get into for a career. Like, I don't know if it's just part of this industry. Well, I know there's the ID or identity things that get attached to any industry. This one it just felt different for me. I've worked in a lot of different industries, and being a person in the personal development or self-exploration space, this all just felt very strange. Kind of like I was spotlighting myself, which is a fear that being in the spotlight is a fear that I navigate all the time. I was one of those kids that sat in the back of class because I didn't want to get called on. I didn't want to get in trouble for getting talked or like for talking to friends. And I would remember when the teacher would call my name and I could feel the burn in my face because I was blushing so much because I was embarrassed for getting called out. The spotlight was never my thing. Talent shows, holy crap. Basically, between the greasy, nervous bomb I dropped before going on stage or the stuttering that would happen moments leading up to it, and then getting out there to do whatever it was and not remembering a thing. Being in the spotlight is something that I was never really good at doing. Now, you could color this with my, fear of judgment or fear of being seen, or even just simply being held accountable. I don't know. I'm not a perfect individual. And when I first started doing this thing, I showcased that a lot. But as we all try and become better in our respected fields, we watch others, we see what they're doing, and we pick up things that we like and we leave behind things that we don't. So during, let's say, the last 5 years, because it's been a little bit longer than 5 years, but let's use just a nice round number of 5 years. I have not only just tried to fit myself into a box, I have paid thousands of dollars to do so. Whether or not it was for marketing, whether or not it was for brand psychology, whether just anything in this godforsaken online business space. And I have found myself so far removed from what I started that I don't even recognize myself in my business anymore. And if that resonates with you, well, you're in the right place, because the direction I'm wanting to take is to be able to show up, set up my camera, set up the mic or whatever it is, and just have a conversation. To work through things in real time. To be able to have conversations that people are absolutely terrified to have because we are afraid that we are the only ones. We are afraid that people will think differently of us if said thing gets found out, if the skeletons in the closet are no longer in the closet, so to speak. Over the past couple months, I dove into consuming a lot of Theo Vaughn's content. Shout out to Theo, because I got some deep inspiration from him. And I've been a fan of Theo for quite some time. I never really went and dove into his podcast or anything like that. And I couldn't even remember which podcast episode it was that I watched. I was just intrigued by how he showed up. He was just there, just having a conversation, talking to the interviewee like a good friend. That was it. And so with that, I start going through his set list. I go back to the beginning, in the middle, near the end, a year ago. I mean, this guy went from starting his podcast, recording it in his closet, just having a conversation about this past weekend, all the way to interviewing the president, all the way. Now, granted, that was a 10 years span. What fascinated me was that the way he showed up in his content really didn't change. Did his mic confidence or camera confidence increase? Of course, but I mean, he already had some of that stuff being a stand-up comedian. It was just the core threads. He just sat down, had an unscripted conversation, unless it was an advertisement. If you consume his content, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But he would just sit down and talk. And I was just enthralled with like how easy he made it look. And that's what I realized, that doing the scripts, doing the thing that I feel like I should be doing, emphasis on should, has led me completely astray. Mr. Theo showed up, started having conversations, and just stuck with it. And somehow fumbled and found his way into success. And man, if I ever get a chance to have a conversation with him, that would be amazing. I would absolutely love. So Theo, if you ever happen to come across this, my man, I would love to be able to sit down and have a conversation. Because I owe a lot of the new direction of what I'm wanting to do here to him. I have a disdain for the rat race. I do not like the 9-to-5 hustle and bustle. I also do not like the red pill movement grind where you have to get up at 4 a.m. and work until midnight and sleep with your eyes open. And the first 3 hours of waking, you have to have 5 personal development books read. You have to cold plunge and sauna and run 10 miles. And nobody does that. Nobody does that. And the people who might do something similar to that, those are not the tools that got them there. It's just not. One thing that I have really noticed and picked up is that there are a shitload of garbage ideas on the internet of somebody trying to sell an idea, basically trying to reinvent the wheel. And it's not even a good freaking wheel. It's just the next new shiny thing. Well, I was one of those people too. As I already said, I spent thousands of dollars trying to fit in that box, hiring numerous different coaches and business coaches and mentors and et cetera, et cetera. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not taking anything away from those individuals. Did I learn things from them? Absolutely. Would I change what I did? No, not in the little, not in the slightest. Because if I changed what I did, it wouldn't have led me to this realization that I had right now. But I can say with certainty that the most value I got was out of my first coach, because it was him simply showing up, showing me how to start a business, run a business, and his philosophy was pull out your phone and talk. He was not about the scripts whatsoever. He was not about figuring out the perfect call to action, the perfect 3-second hook, the perfect this, the perfect that. It was just showing up. And that's where I lost my way, because showing up got muddled by this over analysis paralysis that I would develop, thinking that it had to be the certain right way. And that's just not how I function, dude. That is just not how I function. So, the new direction of this platform, the new direction of what I want to do with this is to show up and have you as a witness. If what I'm talking about resonates, you're more than welcome to sit in and listen. This is not a cry for help. This is not for attention. I am just a really good verbal processor. That's how I work through a lot of my things. And so I figured, why not verbally process things being recorded? Why not just record myself actually working through the real things that people are scared to talk about? Well, that leads us to right now, this moment, this episode right here, or installment or video. I guess it really doesn't matter. It's whatever platform you're consuming it on, is going to be the first of many. Just showing up and having some hard conversations, many of which might elicit some tears, some anger, rage, but at the end of the day, working through things, actually working through things, not just talking about working through things, but verbally processing, getting things out and figuring out what the next step is possible. Because that's the stuff that really sat well with me when I first started doing this thing. Just having conversations and putting something out there and simply waiting for that message in my DM being like, what? You're going through that too? You know what I'm talking about. I know damn well that you have seen some sort of content creator out there, seen what they had to say or share, and be like, holy shit, this is the first time I have felt so understood. Well, this is installment 1. And if this is something that interests you, I would love to have you on this journey. Even just sitting here thinking about that, it makes me nervous, because being on the camera, being in this spotlight in itself is vulnerable for me. I was the kid at the back of the class that put myself in positions to get overlooked. I was the kid that would wear the oversized clothes to hide what was going on underneath. I was the kid that would speak when spoken to ensure that I wasn't going to ruffle any feathers, because I did not like eyes on me. So we're going to change that. Not only am I going to show up and just have unscripted conversations about the shit that none of us want to talk about, but I am actively working through a discomfort and a fear that I have simply by being here. So if this is something that interests you, I hope to be able to have a conversation with you someday. And I very much look forward to that day. I hope you have the best rest of your day. And I'm going to show up again tomorrow, the day after that, next week, next month, just having those conversations. Take care of yourself. You are loved. And in this funny ass world where there are so many assholes out there already, don't be a bully to yourself. Take care.